नमस्कार और गंगा एजुकेशन में आपका पुनः स्वागत है। इस प्लेटफॉर्म पर आपको विधिक क्षेत्र से संबंधित महत्वपूर्ण विषयों पर व्याख्यान, विधि से जुड़े हुए प्रतियोगी परीक्षाओं की तैयारी, महत्वपूर्ण कानूनी तथ्य तथा विधिक इतिहास से संबंधित सामग्री सरल और व्यवस्थित रूप में उपलब्ध होगी। क्रिमिनोलॉजी के इस लेक्चर सीरीज में अब हम देखते हैं क्राइम वर्सेस टॉर्ट वर्सेस सिन वर्सेस पीस।
Namaskar. So imagine a road accident. In that one single event, which part is a crime, what qualifies as a tort, and is there maybe even a vice or a sin involved? आइए आज के इस एक्सप्लेनर में इन सब के बीच का जो डिफरेंस है उसको बिल्कुल क्रिस्टल क्लियर करते हैं. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to tackle the legal difference between crime and tort. Then we'll dive into the moral side of things with crime, vice, and sin. After that, we'll look at a final comparison table that puts it all together and we'll wrap up with a quick revision for your exams.
तो चलिए सबसे पहले शुरू करते हैं दो कोर लीगल कॉन्सेप्ट से, क्राइम और टॉर्ट. इनका डिफरेंस समझना, लेट मी टेल यू, क्रिमिनोलॉजी और लॉ ऑफ टॉर्ट्स दोनों के लिए एब्सोल्युटली फंडामेंटल है.
So, what is a crime? Well, a crime is considered a wrong against society as a whole. You see, भले ही विक्टिम एक इंडिविजुअल हो, जैसे मर्डर के केस में, उस एक्ट को पूरी सोसाइटी के खिलाफ माना जाता है. It disturbs public peace and order. And that's exactly why the party fighting the case isn't the individual, but the state. यानी the government itself, which prosecutes the offender.
अब आते हैं क्रिमिनल लॉ के सबसे सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट इंग्रेडिएंट पर, मेंस रिया. इसका मतलब है अ गिल्टी माइंड या क्रिमिनल इंटेंशन. ये कॉन्सेप्ट, प्लीज रिमेंबर दिस, क्रिमिनल लॉ का बैकबोन है. इसको हमेशा याद रखें. फॉर मोस्ट क्राइम्स यू हैव टू प्रूव दैट देयर वाज अ गिल्टी माइंड, एक बुरा इरादा बिहाइंड द एक्ट.
Okay, now let's contrast that with tort. A tort is a civil wrong. It's against an individual or their property. So this is a private matter. For example, if someone enters your property without permission, that's trespass, it's a tort. Yahan state involved nahi hoti. Instead, the injured party files the case themselves. And the goal? It's not punishment, it's compensation for the harm done.
और यही है क्राइम और टॉर्ट का एक क्रूशियल डिफरेंस. जहां क्राइम में इंटेंशन यानी मेंस रिया इज एब्सोल्युटली एसेंशियल, वहीं टॉर्ट्स में इंटेंशन इज जनरली इररेलेवेंट. इवन इफ यू कॉज हार्म टू समवन अनइंटेंशनली थ्रू योर केयरलेसनेस और नेग्लिजेंस, यू कैन स्टिल बी हेल्ड रिस्पॉन्सिबल अंडर टॉर्चस लायबिलिटी. दैट्स ए ह्यूज डिफरेंस.
ये टेबल आपके सारे बेसिक डाउट्स क्लियर कर देगा. सो क्राइम इज अ पब्लिक रॉन्ग, टॉर्ट इज अ प्राइवेट रॉन्ग. द गोल ऑफ क्रिमिनल लॉ इज टू मेंटेन पब्लिक ऑर्डर, while the goal of tort law is to compensate the injured person. Now, let's focus on the most important point for your exams, the burden of proof. In a criminal case, the prosecution has to prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt. मतलब शक की कोई गुंजाइश नहीं होनी चाहिए. जबकि in a tort case, the standard is the balance of probabilities, which basically means you just have to show that it was more likely than not that the event happened.
So ठीक है, we've understood the legal concepts. Ab, let's take this discussion a level higher and explore the socio-moral angle of these terms. This is going to give you a much deeper understanding of the entire topic.
So in this section, we're going to unpack these three terms. Crime, which, as we know, is a legal wrong. Vice, which is more of a moral failing. And sin, which is a religious transgression.
So, what exactly is a vice? Well, a vice is a bad habit or a moral failing that degrades a person's character. But, and this is key, it's not necessarily punishable by law. Think about things like gambling, smoking, or even laziness. Society might look down on them, but they aren't always illegal.
And now we come to sin. Sin, or pap, is a religious or moral transgression. It's seen as a violation of divine law or your own conscience. For example, lying, disrespecting parents, or in many religions, adultery. The punishment here is considered spiritual, not legal. Unless, of course, that same act has also been explicitly made a crime by the law.
Okay, so here's a crucial point. The line between a vice and a crime is drawn by the law. And this is a brilliant example of how a society's values shape its laws. Just look at this. Alcohol consumption might be a vice for some, but in Gujarat, it's a crime because of their prohibition law. Similarly, gambling is legal in some places but a crime in others. What this tells us is that law isn't static. It evolves based on social and moral values.
अब आते हैं उस टेबल पर जो आपके सारे डाउट्स क्लियर कर देगा. I'm telling you, this is a gold mine for LLB, LLM and NET exams, all three. So pay very close attention.
Just look at this table. The authority for a crime is the legislature and the courts. For a vice,
the authority is society's moral perception, and for a sin, the authority is religion or one's own conscience. Now look closely at the punishment row. Legal penalties, like jail time or fines, exist only for crime. I would strongly suggest that you take a screenshot of this slide for your notes. It's incredibly helpful.
Chaliye, before we conclude, let's do a very quick revision for your exams. We want to lock in all these key takeaways.
Okay, ready for a rapid-fire revision. Let's go. Crime, a public wrong, punished by the state. Tort, a private wrong, remedy is compensation. Vice, a socially undesirable habit, only illegal if a law says so. And sin, a religious violation governed by divine law. Simple.
And now, a question for you to think about. As our society continues to evolve, what do you think? Which of today's vices might just become the crimes of tomorrow? Give that some thought, because the line between morality and legality is always shifting.
I really hope these concepts are perfectly clear to you now. If you have any doubts at all, please ask them in the comments below. For more such law lectures, make sure you subscribe to Ganga Education.
इस सत्र को देखने के लिए धन्यवाद। यदि यह व्याख्यान आपको उपयोगी लगा है तो कृपया लाइक, शेयर और गंगा एजुकेशन को सब्सक्राइब करें और आगे भी ऐसे महत्वपूर्ण विधि व्याख्यानों के लिए जुड़े रहें।